Oh my goodness, my TV channeling family, our TV channeling family. Welcome back to another episode of, you guessed it, TV channeling. And we're happy to be back. I'm Tachi.
And I am Kevin, and summer is in full effect, and so we are doing something we have never done before here at TV Channeling. We're doing a not one part, 2-part special, Tachi.
Yes! Woohoo!
I could not be more excited. It is the Bad Girls of Summer, past and present. First up is the Bad Girls of Summer past. We're going back in time. Are you ready, Tachi?
I'm ready. I'm excited because it's like the ghost of Christmas past. That's what I was thinking about, but better because it's summer.
Well, it's especially great for us to celebrate the bad girls of the past because you know what? TV channeling is now 21 episodes old. So we are
legal.
We are extremely legal and we can drink. And so I can't think of a better time to celebrate the bad girls of summer past.
Oh, this is perfect. This is the social media gods were smiling on us when they said, "You're turning 21. How about you do the Bad Girls of Summer?" I love it.
All right.
Fantastic.
So let's get this party started with our very first review. The first show we're going to be reviewing is Glow on Netflix. It's a 10-episode series, and let me tell you a little bit about it. Oh, before I tell you a little bit about the show, how our reviews generally work. We at least watch 2 episodes of every show we review, and all the shows we're reviewing today, both of them, we both watched at least there's 2 of us. We both watched
all 2 of us.
All 2 of us have watched at least 2 episodes of both the shows we're reviewing. So first up, like I said before, is Glow from Netflix. In Los Angeles in 1985, desperate to jumpstart her career, struggling actress Ruth Wilder heads to a casting call at an LA gym, and she quickly realizes this is not a typical audition. So, Tachi, what did you think of Glow?
Well, before I give you my thoughts on what I thought of it, can I just say that I used to watch Glow when I was little? So in case you all don't know, Glow was actually a real thing. The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. It came on in the 1980s, and it was kind of the female answer to the WWF because there were no women wrestlers back then in the WWF. They had like female sidekicks or whatever the case may be. And I was a huge fan of wrestling. For some reason, don't ask, but my sister and I, every Saturday, we used to watch WWF, because now it's called something else, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, WWE, Worldwide
World Wrestling
Entertainment.
Right, before it was World Wrestling Federation, WWF. So we watched that religiously every summer, from Hulk Hogan to the British Bulldogs to the Junkyard Al. Whoever the hell.
It was a Junkyard Dog.
It was a Junkyard Dog, right? So there was the British Bulldogs, the Junkyard Dog. There was the one that was married to somebody called Elizabeth. I don't know. Anyway, it was fantastic for me. And so the fact that they came up with the women's counterpart with that, it was cool. Now, granted, I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed WWF, but it was cool. I still watched it. It was TV. I'm an addict. What do you want? So this took me back to the days of it. But the thing that I liked was we only watched 2 episodes. So it wasn't really so much about in the first 2 episodes, the thing itself. It was about the personalities behind it. So there was a real story behind it. And what leads up to you getting involved in something like this? Because we all know this is fake, right? It's not like it's real wrestling.
It's not real?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I spoil it?
Oh, Tachi, no. So many hours of our lives were wasted.
Yes, practicing so that one day we too could be part of the WWF.
Wait, so you mean you can't hit people in the back of the head repeatedly with a folding chair and they can just get back up and start fighting and talking and everything?
Sorry, no. It doesn't work. Yeah, you should have learned that from Loghorn, Foghorn, Leghorn, and all the rest of the Looney Tunes. But I was enjoying this. Now, I was at first not necessarily excited when I saw the previews for it on Netflix, when I was watching other Netflix shows. I was not necessarily like, "Ooh, I gotta watch." I was like, "Oh, okay." But then I started to hear more and more about it, and I got more and more intrigued. And then you told me to watch the trailer, and I did. And that's what kind of solidified my interest in it.
Yeah, once you see the trailer, because I agree with you, just seeing the imagery that pops up at the top of the screen when Netflix is pushing whatever their latest or Netflix original is, of just like seeing that glow and all the women in leotards was just like, yeah, I don't think that's something I need to revisit. But then someone encouraged me and asked me about the show, and so I'm like, well, let me at least check out the trailer. And I feel the same way about the show as I felt about the trailer, because the star of the show, we're actually seeing it through her eyes, is the character Ruth, and she's played by Allison Brie. And I feel like, okay, let me just say right now, if there is ever a Kristen Wiig biopic, and they need an actress, and Kristen Wiig isn't available, she's like, I am too good to be playing Kristen Wiig, and
Yes.
then they immediately need to get Allison Brie on the line, because she not only kind of has the kind of physicality of a Kristen Wiig, and the kind of same kind of figure and everything,
Yes.
very wiry and bendy, for lack of a better term. But she has this thing that the moment we are introduced to her on the screen, I feel like we instantly feel like we know her and she's an old friend. We instantly like her. At least I instantly was just like, like she's one of my crew. I was instantly on team, Ruth, from jump. Now, later on in the series, we find out there might be a reason not to be on team Ruth.
Hence why she's on the Bad Girls of Summer special.
Exactly.
She's not here for no reason.
Yeah, she's not going to be. She's not going to be on our our Good Girls of Summer special. She will not be a part of it.
That show probably would not be as much fun.
But anyway, yeah. So we learn more about her. So she's a complex character. She's not what she initially appears to be. But you're instantly, to me, on her team until we find out more about who this person actually is.
No, okay. So going back to her backstory, this girl, I think she's from Omaha, Nebraska, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I think she's from Omaha, Nebraska.
Podunk.
Some of these mid what you called it, podunk. To the people of Omaha, Nebraska, I did not say that.
It was podunk in 1985. Today it's a bustling metropolis, but back then it was a sleepy little town.
Oh, you cleaned that up so well. Gabrielle Union, Kevin is sorry. Anyway.
I watched enough episodes of Scandal to know how to clean up a mess.
Clearly. Olivia Pope taught you well. So back then, as he says, it was a little, interesting. So this is the thing. Everybody in the Midwest, everybody everywhere tried to make their way to LA in the 80s because that was the place where dreams were made. That's where the industry was. Because when you think about it, there were very few shows. Most of the shows that are shot, I mean, even till today, are in New York. They're mostly news programs. There are some, there's some original programming, and of course there are movies, but most of the production takes place in LA. Well, now it's starting to change a little bit because you've got film incentives in other states, but people still think about LA as the epicenter of the entertainment industry. So of course, here comes Omahayan. That's not even the word, but whatever. Omahayan. Omaha for real. Anyway, so she makes her way out to LA. She's living in this apartment. She can't get the parts that she wants. I mean, of course, she's waitressing too. So that's what everybody does because, you're trying to go to do auditions. Now everybody drives Uber. You live in LA. Isn't that the case, Kevin, where a lot of people that are acting like drive for Uber and Lyft?
Oh, yeah. Uber, Lyft, all of the kind of shared economy. If you want to meet an actor actor, call an Uber or order a pizza, and you'll be getting a pizza from the stars. Well, future stars, but still stars.
Stars, exactly. Well, I guess that's how you can cast for your next movie. We need to cast. Can somebody order a pizza?
Well, that's another thing. Even though, yeah, there are all kinds of places where there is filming because you're right about all kinds of tax incentives, but it still starts here. People get hired and cast here in LA, and then they ship them off to be in some Tyler Perry abomination in Atlanta.
Oh, damn. Tyler Perry, on behalf of TV channel, I did not say that. I did not say that.
Wait, so are we gonna pretend like all the bad mouthing you've done to Tyler Perry off mic has never happened? Are we gonna really play it like that?
See, Kevin is not your friend. He's the same one that will throw you under the bus. Where Tyler, that was not me. He is making all of this up. I don't know where it come. In fact, Kevin, perhaps you need a little break.
All right. Yeah, you know what? I must have sustained some kind of traumatic brain injury.
Some sort of
because
injury.
everybody knows that Tyler Perry is this generation's Shakespeare. Let's just all be real about it.
You hear I'm quiet, ladies and gentlemen. I am not going to be tied to that mess.
In the distance, you hear.
Yo, I'm not participating. I am not participating, Kevin.
All right.
So, okay. Anyway, back to these gorgeous ladies of wrestling. It really, I was really into the whole casting process because it's like I've done a little bit of acting, but I haven't done it where it's full time for me and I'm schlepping myself from audition to audition. And especially in the 1980s, how many roles, especially leading roles, were there for women? There were not a lot. And she addresses that. She purposely says the wrong lines in an audition. She says the male part and she kills it basically. And that's the scene that we see in the trailer. And I'm like, oh damn, she's good. And then she's like, yeah, you're reading the male part. The casting director's like, you're reading the male part. And the women's part is like, your wife is on line 1, please.
That was so brilliant. That was so, because she reads this really hard hitting, role, like damn it, I won't take this. And then it's just like, oh no, you're supposed to be reading the secretary's part, like your wife's on line 2, and that's it. They actually brought people in to read for that. Like no, like anybody couldn't do that.
Yes. No, I know. And here's the thing. So she then waits. She does the audition. And mind you, we find out later that she purposely reads the male part. I don't know how she thought she was going to finagle that into a bigger role for herself, but here comes the dreaming actress who thinks she has these delusions of grandeur. Okay.
Well, I don't know if it's delusion of grandeur, but I think that she was thinking that maybe if they saw that, her range, she wanted to maybe put something in the back of their mind for the future, or maybe make the director that might actually, if they actually saw, because she's being videoed, that maybe they might rethink something or whatever, or at least give the casting director the idea that she truly is talented, and to bring her in on more substantive things than your wife is on line 2, because that's the kind of things that she's even being. Those are the things she can even get an audition for. Is the your wife is on line 2 kinds of. Is that even a role? Can you even call that a role? Because in the credits it'll be like secretary 2 or something. When your character doesn't even have a name, because I remember, speaking my vast acting experience, I remember being in a play, The Pajama Game, in high school, and I got the illustrious part of helper number 2. And so when I got the part of helper number 2, I was just like, wait a minute, what is my motivation as helper number 2? How is
motivation is, if you want to be in this play, you will read the lines as
what
follows.
Is the backstory for helper number 2? How did he get involved with helper number 1? There's so much to learn. There's so much to know about this character who's so pivotal in the story.
You're doing too much. You're doing too much. Here's the thing. And see, you're looking at it from one perspective, and you're very right. She probably said once they see my glowing skills that I got in my community improv class, they are going to want me for more roles. Or they could be like, this bee does not follow directions. I told her to read part number 1, and here she comes reading part number 2. Next. That could be the other way. So she took a gamble.
But she was trying to play.
Lost.
She was trying to play it as it was an accident. But then the casting director called her out later when she accosted her in the bathroom. She basically waits in the ladies' room, waiting for the casting director when everything's done to come in there. And she basically, and tries to talk to her. And the casting director basically in front of her like, "You did not. That was not an accident. You knew that was not your part."
Exactly. No, but let me tell you the key thing that's like, oh, damn, where I felt sorry for her. She was like, Ruth was like, well, you call me here a lot and I never get anything. Is there something I need to do different? And the casting director is like, look, casting directors the directors tell us what we want. You're basically the person we bring in to show them that they don't want that.
Yeah,
terrible.
Yeah, because she was that was such a great line because the casting director says, yeah, we get all the time directors say, send us real girls, we want reality, and then we basically cast we call people like you to show them that no, they do not want real girls. That's gotta hurt.
They take a couple of jabs at Ruth throughout this thing, throughout the episodes we watch. It's like, damn, she is like really chopped liver. Poor girl.
Oh, well, there was another thing, and a lot of people that have been in acting have experienced this kind of thing where when she first meets the guy who's creating Glow, who's actually a director, who's now gone, and his career is sunk so low that from directing, B movies and blaxploitation films, he is now he thought he's at the bottom of the barrel, but now he's underneath the bottom of the barrel, and he's creating this gorgeous ladies of wrestling thing, and he tells her, he's like, I'm not sure about you and your face. It's like, I look at you in one minute, like you seem like this is a hot girl, and then it's like, no, she's not hot, and it's like,
yes, it's like he said, you have one of those faces that changes. It's like, yeah, and then it's like, yeah,
oh no, you're hot. No, you're not. No, you're not attractive at all. It just depends on how I look at you. I can't figure it out if you're ugly or good looking. I'm like, oh, that's very not an easy thing to hear.
That's got to sting. But you also have to realize he's a coked up, washed up somebody, so he could say any number of things.
Oh yeah, that's another, yeah, very, very, very coked up.
He coked or whatever it is, but I'm guessing that's his narcotic of choice.
Well, anyway, so what did you think of the whole kind of like going back to the 80s? Did you feel like they kind of got that vibe right?
They did. They even, remember when her friend, who ends up being an adversary eventually due to her own stupidity.
Don't give too much away.
I'm not giving anything away. I'm not giving it. I'm just saying Ruth was was stupid and careless, and something ends up happening. So when they were cool, they went to an aerobics class.
Oh yeah.
That was the quintessential 1980s aerobics class. From the horrible costumes, who in what world was it comfortable for women to wear these tights and then thongs? Who came up with that?
Yeah,
Some man. But I always hated those things. I thought they were hideous. I'm like, why would I? First of all, I don't want to see that. You're in exercise class and you're in front of me. I really don't want to see that. That's number one. But that was the style. Bright colors was the huge style as well. Everybody wore a leotard. So there was no such thing as wearing like, what's-the-name pants. What were like yoga pants or something to work out. It was all those ugly leotards. So that was one thing. And then the movements. Did you peep the movements and the electronic music?
All right, Tachi, are you saying that you didn't want to get physical? You didn't want to get physical? You didn't want to get into physical? You didn't want to hear their body talk?
You know what? You want us to get sued. Because we don't have the rights for that song.
Olivia Newton-John, don't come after us. We're a small show. But we're looking for investors, though. If you want to invest, Olivia Newton-John, we're big
Not a
fans.
problem.
We're big fans. We're big
Huge
fans.
fans. We'll pick any one of your songs. Not a problem. So
Yeah,
that
no,
was authentic.
yeah, we really felt transported. And one thing I really like about the first two episodes we saw, it's all about the process of the beginning of something from the ground up. I mean, literally, these women are called into a mysterious audition, just like what were they saying? Unusual girls or daring girls, something like that.
Yeah.
Very, very, very vague. And I love when all these, it's literally 100 plus women there, and then he basically says, all right, I'm creating a thing. It's going to be a wrestling league for women. So anybody not cool with that, feel free to, and then basically like about 75% of them all walk out immediately.
Exactly. And he's like, okay, so you're leaving too, okay? I'm like, it was like, but I guess he kind of expected that. So
And also, I love when our lead character Ruth is all like, "Okay, wait, are you asking for actresses to wrestle, or are we wrestlers who are acting like and just like, she could not wrap her mind around exactly what was happening. And I love how there's an incident that goes down towards the end of the first episode because he's trying to explain what his vision is, and there's some kind of thing that goes down where an actual fight breaks out, and as the real fight happens, we go into his coked up mind and we
yes.
see his vision of what he's trying to create, and we see this smile on his face when he comes back to reality. It's like, okay, he knows that what he's dreaming of is obtainable. As someone gets their ass kicked, he's like, okay, yeah, people will pay to see this.
And let's be honest, that's the only reason Ruth is still there, because he was like, all right, bye. Remember, it came down to they were like at although who are we fooling? The cutting process was just formality because he needs people to be in that show. But when it came down to between two, Ruth and the other young lady, we'll call her, this young lady actually ended up being like a legacy, and in fact, he calls her legacy in terms of wrestling. So it was going to be bye-bye Ruth until this happened.
Okay, one thing that I gotta thank you for mentioning this, because I almost forgot to mention something. I didn't add it to my notes. All right. When Ruth, at one point in the first episode, Ruth is basically shown the door. She's told to go. And so Ruth goes home and she starts watching the WWF, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and she's watching it. And all of a sudden, because this is an 80s themed TV show, what do they give us? A classic 80s montage where she watches all the different wrestlers and she emulates them to an 80s track, and we see her trying all the moves and coming up with her own crazy costumes and taking on and looking at it as a role. And then when she just shows up uninvited and unannounced the next day to rehearsals, she basically starts reading as a badass wrestler, but she starts basically playing Maggie from Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. A badass wrestler,
exactly.
Maggie from Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And it was hilarious. It was so funny.
It really was. It was great. It was great. I'm pleasantly surprised.
All right, Tachi, before I ask you the question I love to ask, I got to ask,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite quote from the first two episodes of Glow?
Yeah. My favorite quote is the one that we talked about. You have one of those faces that changes. It's like, yeah. Ugh. That's my favorite one. I must have laughed for like 5 minutes. I actually had to stop the show, put it on pause so that I could laugh and not miss anything else. That's my favorite line. What about you?
All right, my favorite quote was one from a character after a very negative interaction where she actually during practice/rehearsal. I'm not sure which to call it. Is it practice or is it rehearsal? Because we're pretending, but it's a physical thing, so I'm not sure if it's practice or what. But anyway, she ends up inadvertently being made. She loses consciousness during this interaction. And after they're like at lunch, she says, "Who does that bitch think she is? This morning, she was just some smucky actress in a Kmart leotard. Now she's going around knocking people unconscious. Who died and made her Black Nurse Ratchet?"
Yes, I heard that.
When she said Black Nurse Ratchet, I was
Yes,
like, I had to pause
Black
it
Nurse
immediately.
Ratchet.
I had to pause it immediately and write that down.
Yes, no, that was a good line. That's a good one. That's a good one.
All right, Tachi. So this is the question that everybody's hanging on the edge of their seat to find out what you're gonna say. Tachi, are you gonna keep watching Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling? Are you gonna stay tuned, or are you going to change the channel?
Oh, I'm going to keep watching because I need to see what leotards they're wearing next and what transpires with the former. I want to say that she was in a blaxploitation flick because I'm sure he was directing those before. I want to see all of that. So I'm invested in this show now.
Oh,
Kevin.
yeah. You know what? I am going to, since someone's going to ask me.
I was about to.
Oh,
You
okay.
heard?
Well,
And I was like, Kevin, what about you?
am I going to do what exactly?
Oh, here you go. Are you going to keep watching or change the channel?
Well, Tachi, thank you so much for asking. I am going to stay tuned. I was surprised by how much I like the trailer. I'm even more surprised by how much I like the show and the surprises because, like I said before, at the beginning of it, we're totally on Team Ruth, and just she is our best friend. She's your kid sister. She's all that. But then, like, oh, okay, you've got layers, girl. You got layers. That's why,
not just in that damn feathered hair.
Yeah, that's why you're one of TV channeling's bad girls of summer. So
I was waiting for that, Kevin. You have given me life this afternoon. Thank you.
Anyway, so I'm definitely going to stay tuned for the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, or Glow, and I believe it's already been renewed for season 2.
Yeah, from what I understand, that is there was so much talk around this, it had to be renewed, and I'm glad because this is actually, we didn't talk about the people involved with this. This is who is this produced by?
I do not know.
This is, am I not mistaken in saying that this is, I thought that, maybe I'm wrong. For some reason, I thought that Rashida Jones was involved in this. Am I wrong?
I do not remember. I really don't.
Okay, well, never mind. I thought for some reason Rashida, maybe one of the other 10 million we watched.
Yeah, but you know what? Just because a big name is involved in the production does not guarantee, because lots of shows that have had really big names in front and behind the camera have been shown the door after one season. And let's be real, since we did our last episode, Netflix has been bringing down the hammer and using the axe and cleaning house. So we used to think that things were guaranteed a second or third season on Netflix, and no more. So yeah, there's no safe place when it comes to TV. You know, if you're they have numbers in their mind of what a show should, be generating, and if it's not meeting that quota, and it's even more mysterious when it comes to Netflix because there aren't ratings. So
Right.
when people kind of lost their minds when they announced that they had canceled Sense8, I had no idea how popular that show was or wasn't, but it seemed like it was pretty popular because people lost their minds on social media when they canceled it, and kind of made the people at Netflix pay attention and not give them a third season. But what they are giving them is a wrap up movie, which
Correct,
just
a 2-hour movie.
just for the record, networks, all of you, please listen up. And if you haven't heard this directly, Olivia Newton-John, would you please let them know to do this, because we know you're a fan.
Surely.
Of course she is. But anyway, you too, Pat Benatar. Anyway, the ladies of the 80s love us. But anyway,
Yes, and Tony Basil.
Tony Basil, of course. And Mickey, you think we're fine too. Anyway, all right. When it comes to especially these continuing story kinds of shows, these sci-fi things that have these long arc storylines, do not just cancel these things and drop these fans off like a hot rock. You have got to do wrap up movies for all these kinds of series, because if you do not do wrap up stories or wrap up movies to wrap things up, it makes people feel like, why should I get involved in a new story when I'm going to have the rug pulled out from under me and never kind of get any resolution? So that's especially something like Netflix that people pay for. There should never be a show that airs more than one season that doesn't have some kind of wrap up or some kind of conclusion. So I know a lot of people that don't even try to watch new shows. What they do is they wait for shows to run their course and to actually have an ending. And once they've had an ending, then they will watch a show like that on Netflix. They will not watch it in season 1 or season 2 because they're afraid of getting screwed over, like they've been screwed over time and time again with so many other shows that that ended prematurely.
Yeah, it's not that serious for me. So it's not
Wait a
that
minute.
deep for
Okay,
me.
Chachi, are you seriously telling me you've never watched a show and been into it and then been disappointed when it got canceled because you don't know what happened to the characters or anything?
Oh, I didn't say I wasn't disappointed, but I wasn't going to march down Park Avenue either and knock on the doors of the director, producers, and directors to say we need. Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, it's run its course. This is this newfangled 21st century way of thinking that that they owe you a resolution, which I can kind of understand. You do want to feel completed, so
Well, especially when you are actually paying
well, when you're
something for
paying
like
it, you
Netflix.
don't. Exactly. When you're paying it, there's no rating system. So you have no reason or clue why this stuff was canceled because you don't have any clue about the ratings because they don't release them.
Well, the first time I ever heard of like any kind of like resolution movie, I remember hearing about there was a show that was a spinoff of Melrose Place back in the 90s, and it was called Models Inc. And it was
Oh, I
and it was
remember Models Inc.
Models Inc. was everything back in the day.
It was.
And
It
it
was.
had like I think it aired for 2, maybe 3 seasons, but probably more like 2. Anyway, it got the last episode had a crazy cliffhanger, and it didn't get brought back to Fox, and fans were like livid, and it had some success here in the United States, but clearly not enough for it to be brought back for like the 3rd season. But apparently all over the world and in Europe especially, it was a huge juggernaut hit. And so it was airing over and over again in a loop in reruns all across Europe. And so somebody actually used their brand and thought, you know what, this thing is big. What we need to do is a 2-hour movie to basically respond to what happened after that cliffhanger. And so they did, and it was a huge sensation all over Europe. And it made it even more profitable when they sold it in DVD. It was a true complete series, because lots of times if you look at DVD box sets, they'll say like the complete so-and-so series of such and such. It's like there's no completion. This thing got canceled after 2 seasons with a cliffhanger, and no, it's not a complete series. So all these shows need to do some kind of wrap up thing. There was a really compelling show on Starz called Boss that starred Kelsey Grammer as
Mm-hmm.
as this mayor of Chicago, and he was super corrupt, and he also had a debilitating disease that was slowly killing him, and he was trying to keep it a secret because he was trying to basically atone for his life of just abysmal sins. And the show could not have been more compelling. And I believe that show was the forerunner by far for House of Cards, because this was House of Cards before there was a house or a deck of cards. That show was everything. And the show got canceled by Starz. Starz has screwed me a couple of times. Anyway, it got canceled after 2 seasons, and they announced that there was going to be a wrap-up TV movie that I am still waiting for. I am still waiting for this. Kelsey Grammer is still waiting for this, Starz. Get on it. And if you don't believe me, ask Olivia Newton-John. I know she also was a huge fan of Boss.
as well as TV channeling.
Of course.
Anyway.
Those are our two favorite things. Boss and TV channeling.
So we could go on and on forever, but we have another review that we need to get to. And this is another period drama. I am excited about this one as well. Mr. Kevin, would you like to tell us about it?
All right, up next, because the Bad Girls of Summer continue. We're going way back to some of the original Bad Girls of Summer. We're talking about Harlots. It's a
Not the original Bad
They are the original Bad Girls of Summer. And the show is called Harlots, and it's on Hulu, and it's got 8 episodes. And the show is also a period piece. In 18th century London, Margaret Wells's brothel is in a downtrodden area of the capital, but she's making her move upward, aiming to move her family and her girls and take a new house in the vibrant new area of Soho. All right, Tachi, what do you think of Harlots?
Well, first of all, I'm convinced after seeing this that the concept of STIs, sexually transmitted infections, came from 17th century.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I was looking at them like yuck and a half. Ugh. Not only, remember, we're talking about the sanitation is still not the order of the day in London, okay? Now we're also talking about you putting your filthy bodies against the... Oh my God. I had to get over that first, because you know how I am with that. I was like, yuck. And then you said, especially with what is that one, the one harlot that was with that house and then went to the other house and they basically just discarded her? Something Mary, I think, is her name.
Okay, well, basically, let's okay. I need to give a little bit more setup. There was actually it's about two. There's the show is about two competing houses. There is a downtrodden kind of working man's brothel, and then there is basically this really ritzy brothel where all the girls are educated and they can speak French before they bone you, and and they can play like the violin and which is something that's very important when you go into a brothel. Because if I ever went to a brothel, like, wait a minute, before we start anything up, I need to know, do all you girls know how to play the violin?
Exactly.
That's very crucial.
Is there anybody who is schooled in the mandolin?
Exactly. Right? This is very, very important. And so, so there's two competing houses, and the two madams, the madam of the upscale brothel, and the madam of the wannabe up-and-coming brothel have a history that goes very, very deep, and it's very, very dark. And what's interesting about the show is the tone. It's a black comedy. It's definitely got comedic elements to it, but it is so tragic. And I think that the reason why they try to give you this balance is it's the reality of this world is so stark and so it's deeply disturbing. We're talking about children, oftentimes, basically being sold into sex slavery. It is rough, but they try to kind of give you some humor and comedy in it as best they can. So I was wondering how you felt about the tone, because the tone can the pendulum swings in this show.
It really does. And what you have to think about is many of these quote unquote clients are the fine, upright men of the community. They're judges and they're barristers. And these are a lot of them. There's the working, like you said, the working class brothel caters to them as such, and some of the others too. But a lot of these people are the quote pillars of the community. And these are the people that you look to as leaders, or they look to as leaders. And they're the main ones up in the brothels. And it just like messes with your mind.
Oh, well, one of the things that, speaking of that, is not just another thing that I think that a lot of people don't understand about that time is it was just kind of in upper society, there was kind of an understanding that you would actually you had a contract where you would pick like a courtesan or a girl that would basically be your mistress, and you were paying for her, and you were paying for her fidelity, and she could be jailed if she basically didn't adhere to the contract. She is no longer free. She becomes property. That's another thing about the whole show, is that the idea there is a basically it's slavery. The girls also, when you go into a brothel, you have a tab. It's like a sharecropper kind of thing, and so you might get asked to stay in the finer brothel, the house, but you're going to be charged for those fine shoes and those
Mm-hmm.
bustiers. All that goes on your tab. You get charged rent for the room. You get charged for the expensive hair ribbons, and you get charged for those violin lessons. All of that goes on your tab. So basically, you will not get rich, because one of the girls is like, I'm here to make my fortune, and one of the other girls tells her very quickly, she's like, the only one making a fortune here is the madam. You will not be making your fortune
You
will
won't be
not be
getting
made here.
rich. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go directly to jail. That's basically what that is. Yeah, and so it's like, all right, well, the difference between the two houses, the two brothels, is one is like basically gonorrhea city, and the other one is high class gonorrhea city, where you're
Well,
wearing
I'm
finer
glad that you said it that
clothes.
way, because it's yeah. Even though all the crisp white linens and the petticoats do not stop you from getting gonorrhea from
Exactly.
these girls. The girls are gorgeous at the high end place. They look very pristine, but again, they're doing the exact same thing. And one thing that's interesting is we do see a very early precursor to the condom, but apparently
Yes.
there's recycling going on, which is very disturbing.
Disturbing and nasty, and you might as well not use anything at all if
Well, you know
that's the
what? No, but
case.
no, the reason why you use it, it may not protect you from disease, but it did protect these working girls from becoming pregnant.
Pregnant,
And
yeah, that's
so
true.
yeah, so that was the purpose. It wasn't yeah, disease was not forefront in anybody's mind. But another thing that's interesting is how big of a deal the brothels were at the time, that they were even written about in gossip columns. And one of the things that the up and coming brothel owner has to do, because there's a war between the two brothels and there's a vendetta that I don't want to give away what, because it's like when you find out what's behind it all, it's like, oh, whoa, this
Yeah,
stuff
man.
goes deep. There's history here. Um, there's this religious group that's kind of sicked on the more downtrodden brothel, and there's like a bust, and a lot of the girls get arrested and they have to go to court, and so they have to basically pay this fine of like £100, which is huge at the time, absolutely huge. And she basically the madam of the downtrodden house, she was about to Margaret. She was about to move her girls to Soho, and because of the arrest and paying this huge fine, she's about to lose her deposit on this more upscale house, and she's going to actually put her daughter's virginity. She always planned to do it, but she wanted to wait until she was in the finer house to get to that was even more respectable, because there was a more respectable brothel and a less
Right.
respectable one, and she was going to wait until she was on in Soho, and she was going to put her daughter's virginity up for bid. And so because of what happened and having to pay that huge fine, she's got to put her up for bid now before, so they can eventually move to the higher end house. And so they go, there's a night at the opera, and people are there to basically do secret not secret or closed, not closed bids on this girl's virginity. And that brings to mind one of the best lines of the show. Is it's in the first episode, when Lord Repington's wife, as they arrive at the auction, she tells a friend that her husband is besotted with Miss Wells, and Miss Wells, my husband loves a hymen. And I was like,
Yes.
what?
Yes.
And then if that isn't bad enough, Lord Rempington says, I had her older sister and I intend to have her young sister as well. It's just like, so he's keeping it in the family. And the fact that his wife is just like, oh, that's just, one of the quirks of my
Yes.
husband. Just
Well, that's the thing. that gets to you when you think about it on that level. The fact that this is allowed to go on was not only because of the status of women in society at that time, but women also participated in their own oppression, not only by necessarily being harlots and part of that world, although you could argue some women may not have had any choice, because I guess they said something like 1 in 5 women at that time when in London was making a living selling sex. So that's quite a high number, and maybe that's what they felt they could do. But also the fact that the wives of these prominent individuals fully participate. I mean, I don't think they were 100% okay with it at all, but they at least faked the funk, and they were like, oh yeah, see, my husband loves a high. I'm like, who does that? They did.
Well, again, we have to look at that. That's one thing about the show that's interesting. It does transport us back into the time, and it gives us a bird's eye view of what it was really like at that time. And we're so far removed, and it's so funny how a lot of women love romance novels with that term bodice rippers. And when the ugliness of what that time really was, it's so funny that so many people have romanticized that time, even down to the lack of plumbing and chamber pots is to me enough to make it not be romantic. But the reality of what a woman's lot in life was, even in the best of circumstances, as far as money goes, or from the finest family, what she can look forward to is her husband basically, visiting brothels and potentially giving her diseases and taking their 13-year-old son to a brothel as just a rite of passage.
Exactly. It's a whole culture, which is, I'm just, again in my head, I'm like, yuck. I will not eat food from you people ever. But
I guess when you think about it, it's like people probably live to be like, what, 42? So I guess
the life expectancy was not high.
Yeah, so I guess you would take your son to a brothel when he's 12, because like you only have a few years of closeness time. So
they only have a few years by their own doing in some cases.
Well,
Look at all the diseases.
They didn't understand exactly how the whole thing worked, Tachi.
Exactly. No, I know, because when you think about it, that was still in the time of early medicine, and I don't even think the whole concept of what causes infections was discovered, right? Because it was in the 1700s that they were doing experiments with germs and infection. I don't think they understood that, so you're right. So they didn't know it was by their own doing, but it was by their own doing. I'm like, that's why you all don't live so long. Look at what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know why they just didn't. Why somebody didn't just Google sexually transmitted diseases, but they did not.
They could have.
They did not.
Google it. Okay, there was one thing I wanted to bring up, and this is the interesting concept of how they included race inside.
I was hoping you would take it there.
I thought it was very interesting indeed. So, of course, in the 1700s, there was slavery in America. But by this point, slavery had been abolished in England.
Yes.
So there was slavery in England at one point, but it was abolished by this point. So you had not necessarily, they were not living as equals at all, but you had these people of color, because many of them were biracial, that were living amongst the masses. And I'm not going to say it was a huge number of them, but you saw, okay, there were two that worked in the lower class brothel.
Oh,
that
yes,
was
yeah,
the young boy.
But that's actually her son. Clearly, okay.
That's right. That's her son.
Yeah. Let's see. Margaret Wells, the madam of the low class brothel, she has a black man who is her lover and kind of the bouncer of the brothel, and she and her boyfriend or bouncer, they have a young son who does certain jobs around them. Everybody works in one way or another. Everybody, her daughters basically, the one that's a virgin is, she basically plays the piano, and oh my God, it's nothing. Those dresses just breast for days. In fact,
yes.
What I love about their dresses is literally they could go to any doctor's office and the doctor could basically give them a breast exam and they can keep their dress on. That is how much breast is exposed.
No, exactly. They could get their annual mammogram and not disrobe at all. At all. I'm like, really? When you look, it's like the only thing that's not showing is nipple. That's it.
And
It's
I don't even
that low
understand how
cut.
they're. I don't even understand anatomically how they're managing just to keep that. There's so you see so much flesh, but you don't see nipple. I don't know how they're managing that. That is incredible that they're managing to keep that. Those. I mean, because you feel like if they take a deep breath, there just should be nipples everywhere. I don't understand how they manage to keep it in check.
I I don't get it. And to me, it's almost an oxymoron. But I guess that's the aesthetic of the time. That was whatever. Whenever I see that, it never made sense to me. You have all these basically these drapes that are surrounding you and all this heavy cloth, and all of this is exposed. It's really interesting. So, going back to that whole, yeah, breasts for days. And what in the second episode, there is someone that is introduced that I guess is formerly a lover of the madam, the lower madam.
Margaret. Yeah, basically, there's
Yes,
some. Basically, he also was someone of royal blood and lineage of the finer families, and
exactly.
basically, apparently, she was his first. And
Right.
he came like his father, I guess, of this brought him to the brothel when he was 14, and he fell in love with her. But of course, he could never marry her or anything like that. And he headed
Oh,
off
but
to
he could marry a black woman
yeah,
because he married a
but
black
he
woman.
goes to America, and he ends up falling in love with there a slave, and he brings her back to Europe and marries her, and she is his wife. And it's so funny when Margaret gets invited to come to his house, she comes there, and a black woman answers the door, and she's like, "Is your master home?" And she says, "No, but my husband is."
Exactly.
And so it's just like, oh, okay. And and so we kind of see what the lay of the land is. But what was really interesting is apparently Lord whatever his name is had this isn't his first marriage, because he does have I couldn't figure out if his older son that he brings to the low class brothel, if his mother is also a black woman, but he just looks really white, because he makes some kind of snide comment about the biracial prostitute there. He says that that's going to be his sister in a few years. So I don't know what is the deal with who his mother is, if he just looks, like he is
No,
only.
I think the mother is white, and that he went to America. I'm guessing the father went to America, married this enslaved, fell in love with this enslaved woman, brought her back to Europe, and then had the two kids. So I'm guessing that he does not have the same mother. They can't be. They can't be. Look at her. She's almost the same age as the son.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I wasn't quite clear on that, because that can happen where there's someone who's biracial but they don't look biracial at all. So I wasn't sure if that was just like the flip of the coin, that they looked different. But you're right, it probably is that they didn't make that. I wish they had made that more clear, that that was his half, because he didn't even use the term half sister. That's going to be my sister in a few years. That basically what awaits her is a life of prostitution. And even the formerly enslaved woman, she knows what the score is. Where basically that he's going to a brothel, and he's taking his son, and the woman that they're having over is is the woman that he was with in a brothel, in his youth. So it's just kind of understood that that's how things work.
Well, in her head, she's probably like slavery or this.
Well, and also, but I think that, but the important thing is that you have the title, you are the wife, and you also have some kind of, rights come with that. And there's a really compelling scene where Margaret tells her daughter, about the fact that it's about money. She's telling her older daughter, because her older daughter is basically being seen by this man of means, some duke of such and such, and that basically he wants her to sign a contract, and she
Yeah.
wants her freedom. She doesn't want to sign the contract, and her mother explains to her that you're an idiot. This is the best you can hope for, being who and what you are. What's going to happen to you when your looks fade? You need this. You need this contract. This is security for you. All a woman's only security a woman has in this world is money. And then if you have enough of it, you will be safe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think uh, that this Duke of whoever, the Duchess of such and such, this also calls into question the whole role of sexuality as well. Did you notice anything interesting
Oh yeah,
about him?
there is one character, one of the girls that work in the low class brothel that seems to have, she, let's call, what's the word I'm looking for? She's very androgynous.
She's extremely androgynous. I'm like, you, first of all, you look very interesting. Second of all, your behavior is very interesting as well. So she's very androgynous. Very.
But she's very sought after by a lot of men because she basically is. I believe she must be like the original dominatrix.
Yes, no, yeah, you saw some of the stuff she was
Yeah,
doing.
because she has like a riding crop and she is taking control. She is not some waif standing in the corner who's afraid of, them. No, she takes control immediately. The men that basically are with her are going to be, kneeling at her feet and licking her boots.
Exactly, or something else. Anyway, so
This is a family show.
it's a family show. I just said something else. I didn't say what. So but not only that, if you look at what the Duke that the older daughter is going to be contracted to, he also the sexuality comes into play there as well, because it's not just with him. If you look at the whole concept of men at that time, there is that kind of passing in and out of different sexual identities, but it's very clear that he has a very large feminine side.
Oh yeah, he definitely does. But he does seem to have some kind of like I don't know if you could call it codependent, or he has definitely has a fascination with I believe her name is Charlotte, the older yeah, Charlotte Wells, the oldest daughter of Margaret the Madam, because he's controlled by her and he feels like that he's being humiliated by the thought of her being out in society and other men having, access to her when he is paying her bills and putting her in the finest clothes and everything like that. And he's excited by her and her body because there's this whole thing about him being with someone else. I won't say who. He's with someone else
Mhm.
and he can't, rise to the occasion with
Yes,
her like he's able to with Charlotte. So Charlotte has
exactly.
that special something that works for him, and but he is constantly being humiliated by her. Just her, she feels that her devotion, her word should be enough for him. There should be no contract, and this whole not having a contract is making him a laughing stock in polite society, that he can't keep his whore in control.
Exactly. Well, he can't keep control of himself, let alone somebody else. Wow. Well,
Okay, well, this is the part of I gotta ask you: do you have any favorite lines or moments from the show?
I do. I think this show is really, first of all, with both shows, well shot. There, you can't in this day and age talk about a show without good cinematography. I think it was exquisite. I really, really liked us, particularly this show. It was so well shot. But the line is, "Money is a woman's only pair in this world."
Yeah, I thought that was very powerful. One of the parts I thought it was lighter, but it was just like, wow, we're getting more of an idea what this world, how this world works, and I was surprised that this whole interaction was like, oh, okay, there's a lot of different things possible in this world. When Charlotte Wells hires a cab, and what a cab is at that time is literally two men carrying you on like kind of a rickshaw kind of thing and taking you places. And so when
Yes.
she hires a cab, the one cab driver says, "You probably don't remember me, but I remember you because I was in the back before, but now I'm at the front." And she's like, "Oh, well, congratulations." And so he says, "I plan to rent myself out as a fancy man, because most women would pay for a throw with a well-shaped man like me. My price is very fair. I'd even give you the first one for free. And so she says, nothing is no, she goes, nothing comes for free. And he goes, you would, I guarantee it. I was like, oh my.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Wow. Wow. That's a good one.
Yeah, and so
That's
then later we see him like after an event like where he's kind of like, again, he was the original Chippendale because he's on the tables and he's kind of showing, giving the
yeah,
ladies a
dancing
show.
it up. Yes,
He
yes. That he gave quite a show.
Yeah, he was one of the original bad boys of summer, and so
Yeah, well, it makes sense if you're going to have the bad girls of summer. There's always a bad boy to be had as well.
all right, Tachi, this is the time for me to ask the question that people love to hear me ask. All right, Tachi, are you going to stay tuned to Harlots or are you going to change the channel?
Oh, I'm staying tuned, making sure that I, take all my vitamin C before I go out. And zinc and echinacea and golden seal. But I'm thoroughly enjoying this show. It's just really intriguing, and period pieces are hard to do and hard to pull off because you have to make sure everything is consistent. You have to think about the continuity of everything, and I think this show really gets it on the money in terms of continuity.
All right, you know what? And well, are you going to ask me anything?
I was about to ask you something, Eager Beaver. What about you, Kevin? Are you going to stay tuned or change the channel?
Well, Tachi, thank you for asking. I actually am going to be staying tuned as well because I
Yay!
was also captivated by Harlots, and you really do feel transported. I will point out one thing that normally does not work for me in a period thing. It has a modern score, but not like rock music or people singing. It has a score that's kind of edgy and sounds like today as far as the music goes. But
Yes.
what makes it work to me is the fact that it is just instrumental and it isn't people singing like, I'm not hearing Katy Perry singing as they're running around in bodices because that would be a
Or
bridge too.
Donna Summer, she works hard for the money.
Yes, that would be a bridge too far. But I feel like the soundtrack kind of speaks to the energy of the youth and the up and comingness, no pun intended, in these
Ooh.
women, kind of fighting for their share, for their piece. And one thing that I wanted to talk about that was really compelling is the Margaret, the madam, when she tells this story about her background to her daughter as she's about to auction off her virginity, and her daughter is around 15, 14, 15. She tells her about the fact that her mother sold her for a pair of shoes. She was 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and her
When she
mother
was
sold
10.
her to a family for a pair of shoes. I didn't want I didn't want that for you. I gave you time. I gave you schooling. And so I gave you the gift that I didn't have. You get to be 14, and you're going to be sold to a fine gentleman. That I didn't have that luxury. And then she unwraps this package. She gives the daughter the shoes that she was sold for to wear when she is presented to the man that she's going to lose her virginity to. And the daughter, and she goes, how do you like them? And she says, they don't fit. And the mother says, as cold as ice, make them.
Exactly. She said, make them.
Oh, Tachi, I got chills. When she said make them, I got chills. So she was incredible. And also I want to give a shout out to the actress who played the madam of the rival house, because she's asked to do something that seems just beyond reprehensible, where some very, very powerful rich men want a virgin, a young girl who's a virgin, and she basically asks, well, where am I supposed to procure this, this young innocent, and what happens to her after? And then the basic cold as ice, this judge says, it is, who cares? We don't care what happens to her afterwards. And so she basically, lures this innocent girl, and it is just one of the most disturbing things. It's so, but that's one thing. What's so intriguing about this show is the line it plays. It is so stark and so dark and so disturbing, but there is a lightness and a youthful energy, a buzz about this world, and it feels like a fully actualized and realized world. Like you really feel like you're stepping into another time.
Exactly.
All right, so we're both going to stay tuned to Harlots, and I can't wait. I believe Harlots also has been renewed for a second season.
I believe so. And I can't wait to see what they do with this second season.
All right, Tachi.
Well,
so we're going to wrap it up, I guess.
We're going to wrap it up. And we thank you all for listening to this special, the part 1 of the bad. Wait, say it, Kevin.
Part 1 of the Bad Girls of Summer.
Yes. Okay, so thank you so much for staying tuned and listening to us. We do it all because of you. And we're going to be back with part 2 of
The Bad Girls of Summer, present. So in that episode, we're going to be reviewing 2 great shows. We're going to be reviewing Claws, starring Niecy Nash, and we're going to be reviewing Gypsy, starring Naomi Watts. So you definitely want to stay tuned and come back next week for that. And speaking about coming back next week, so you will know the moment the new show drops, it would be helpful for both you and us if you were to subscribe. And if you're loving what we're doing here on TV Channeling, don't just subscribe. Also, leave a review. We love it when you leave a review. And if you didn't like the show, why are you still listening? This is the end of the show. If you didn't like what we were doing, you shouldn't even be hearing me talking right now. So clearly, you liked it. And you know it. So start writing a positive review ASAP.
Absolutely. And you can do so on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and on Podbean. The easiest way is to go to tvchanneling.com. Takes you right to Podbean. And if they want to reach us on social, how can they do that, dear Kevin?
All right. We are everywhere on social media. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Snapchat. You can find us on Instagram. And you can find us on Twitter. And we are TV channeling everywhere. We love to hear from you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. We love to hear from you, and we want suggestions. So if you have any suggestions of shows you'd like to hear us talk about, either in our news or do a review of, we would love to hear from you about that. And if you have anything you like, any questions about the show or Tachi or myself, feel free to hit us up on any social media platform. We would love to talk to you.
Absolutely. And with that, we're going to end it for now until the part 2 of our special. So I will say goodbye from Tachi.
And goodbye from Kevin. And remember, if you're watching it, we're talking about it.
Cheers.
Bye.